Good evening. I would like to call this regular meeting of the Lammersville Unified School District Board of Education to order at 7:01. At this time, I would like to remind everyone in the audience that we are being recorded. Please silence your cell phones, and we will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Matthew Balzerini.
Absent.
Colin Clements.
Here.
Ann Goodrich.
Absent.
Sharon Lampel.
Present.
David Pombo.
Here.
Simran Gunsi.
Here.
Approval and/or corrections to the agenda.
There are none.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports, Facilities Committee. We will be having a Facilities Committee meeting on
July 27th.
July 27th at 6:30 here in the boardroom. I would like, at this time, as part of my Facilities Committee report, I would like to ask the superintendent if there's any update on the pool at the high school or any programs at the pool at the high school.
So what I can report to the board is we have had a very positive article in the Tracy Press. Word is out. We've broadcast over all of our social media and communication tools about the pool and the availability of the pool. To date, no one has come forward to offer a program for kids or adults who would be willing to go through our facilities use process and provide a program to our community.
With consensus from the rest of the board, I would like to direct the superintendent to continue exploring possible organizations that might bring some programs to the pool.
I would agree to
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
I'd also like to have the opportunity to talk to the Facilities Committee about possibly running at least an open swim program on our own, maybe not swim lessons, because I'm in charge of that where I am at work, and it's pretty simple, and the community really appreciates it. The only complaints I'm getting is that our pool isn't open enough hours. So it's not difficult. You just have to find, someone needs to run the mechanics, and then it's easy to get some of our athletes trained as lifeguards.
All right. We will bring it up on a future agenda at the Facilities Committee meeting.
So,
Would you like to-
Mr. President, if we have questions about how Delhi goes about doing that, would that be it seems like that would be a Facilities Committee discussion first. Okay, so you're going to come to the facilities and chat with us, or
When you would like me to be there, certainly,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, I'm looking at next year. We have to learn how to use the pool first, how to run it, run the
absolutely.
pumping.
But it is public access at Delhi. Just one
Yes.
question. Okay,
Yes.
all right. Then
We
yeah.
charge an entry fee. It's very low. We have a little snack bar. We sell junk. And it's great. Some of the kids, they come, they stay the whole time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We will work on getting that on a future agenda for the Facilities Committee. Item 6, analysis, building design, and lease-leaseback. Ms. Diepenbrock.
So I asked Eileen Diepenbrock, who is our attorney who advises us on some of these complicated construction contracts, to bring an informational and educational presentation tonight. I met with 2 developers in the last 10 days, and I can assure the board and the community that the building of a school in Neighborhood D is not the only school we're going to be considering very, very soon, and that there is a planned a very aggressive building in multiple villages. So I wanted Eileen to have a chance this evening to give a couple of options to the board as we're considering schools down the road.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming.
Of course. So it's been my privilege to work with the district for the last couple of years about a variety of delivery methods that the district is employing for its facilities. And I'm going to visit with you tonight about design-build and compare it a little bit to lease-leaseback, which is what the district has been using for the projects in recent times. So a quick overview of lease-leaseback and the lease-leaseback features. The district hires an architect to develop the design. The district issues a request for qualifications and request for proposals for lease-leaseback services. Since January of this year, the district has the option of awarding on best value as opposed to low price, which is a key benefit and a very important change in the law for lease-leaseback. And then the district enters into a ground lease for a nominal amount with the selected provider. And then the lease-leaseback provider enters into a facilities lease with the district, pursuant to which the lease-leaseback provider agrees to construct the improvements and lease them back to the district for specified regular lease payments. Very, very important for this process to work is that the leases cannot be disguised construction contracts. And even with the new law that took effect in January of this year, that is still a critical component, that it cannot be a disguised construction contract. The new law does not address what the lease terms are and are not. That was very important in the process. And you may or may not know, but I was the industry expert for the legislature as they were going through and putting this new law into place. So I saw it from ground up and had a lot of input into the sausage making of the bill. And the legislature was not going to touch at all what the terms of the lease are. So now, because it's not a procurement based on the lowest award to the lowest responsible bidder, you can do it that way, but you're not required to do it that way. It is still considered an exception to competitive bidding, and if the lease terms are a disguised construction contract, a very good argument can be made that it could only have been awarded based on low bid. And that's what happened in that Fresno case that came out in 2015 and sort of turned the world of lease-leaseback on its head.
Can I ask you a question before we move on? Does the legislation define best value, or is that up to us?
It gives a lot of guidance on best value, and you will still decide who provides the best value, but in the procurement process, in the RFQ and RFP, you will set forth the evaluation factors that are important, you will set forth the scoring, and through that process, you will determine the best value, and you will rank your proposers from least to best value if you elect that way. And you can do it without completed plans and specifications.
Thank you.
Key features, additional features of lease-leaseback is that the district retains complete responsibility for the design. And that'll be important as I discuss in a moment. However, now, under the new bill, that has been clarified and confirmed that your lease-leaseback provider can provide pre-construction services. Now, they will do that in the capacity of a construction contractor, not a professional, a design professional. So it's not the same thing as a true peer review. It is still extremely beneficial because the person or the entity that's constructing the project will get its eyes on the plans and specifications before they're finalized and give good input, which will keep the costs down. But it is not the same shifting of design risk that you would have at the design professional level. And importantly, the new law permits you to actually enter into your contracts prior to DSA approval so that the pre-construction services can occur. That was a fundamental change effective this year. However, no construction can begin until you have DSA approval. Pre-qualification and skilled labor, which were in the old law, remain in the law. There's now subcontractor listing protection. Contractor financing, that is an open question about whether it is and is not required. It's not specifically required in the statute, but there's a split in the courts about whether it's required or not. So we go the conservative route and require it until the Supreme Court, if and when they say contractor financing is not required, we want it in the contracts. You don't want to risk it. And then the statute requires that there must be district occupancy or use during the lease term. And so there is a post-construction occupancy period. So now your leases under lease-leaseback will have 3 phases if you want pre-construction services. Phase 1 is pre-construction services, Phase 2 is construction, and Phase 3 is district occupancy post-construction.
Point of clarification.
Of course.
So when you said that construction activities cannot commence for the purposes of schools, I'm from construction, but not typically schools. Land development, any of that type would be considered construction in this context. Is that correct or not?
Well, I guess I'd need to know a little bit more about what you mean by land development, but let me put it this, if DSA approval is required before you can turn dirt,
That's what I mean.
Okay, before you can turn dirt, before you can put up a fence, we, again, are very conservative. Statute is only a few months in. We don't want people messing around. We want you to, don't even allow a trailer on site until you've got the DSA approval. Does that answer your
On the
question?
Lammersville case.
No,
Ever.
no, we want to stay out of the courts. All right? Okay.
One more question.
Sure.
To expand on what Trustee Clements said. A lot of times, the developer has to turn over a construction-ready site. Is that, so they've done some groundwork to the site prior? Is that?
It's going to depend. It really depends on whether DSA approval is required for that. If DSA approval is not required, you can go ahead and do whatever you need to do. But if DSA approval is required, you can't even get that far. So you'd have to look at what your intent is there. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So the process quickly for lease-leaseback is the district selects the architect, then selects the lease-leaseback provider through the RFQ and the RFP. It's 2 steps, request for qualifications and then a request for proposals. You sign the site and facilities leases, complete the design, bid the trade contracts, and the statute specifies that you must bid the trade contracts out now. But you don't have to award those to low bid. You can award those based on best value as well. You establish the GMP, our language, because it's a lease, is total base rent. And you establish the lease payment schedule. Then you come back to the board and confirm the decision to proceed with construction in an open session. Then, and I'll come back to that in a minute, then we have the construction and the post-construction occupancy. This procedure assumes that you're going to do pre-construction services and you're going to select your lease-leaseback provider based on incomplete plans and specifications. You do not have to do that. You can bid it out on completed plans and specifications with no pre-construction services and get your hard bids in, and then there's not that second come back to the board for the board approval. The whole point of the board approval is that the board will not know the final price for the lease until the plans are finalized and you have your GMP, and the public and the legislature were concerned that the board won't get eyes on it again. So that gives a protection to the districts. So that's the lease-leaseback overview. Switching to design-build. It again is regulated by statute. It is available on projects in excess of $1 million. The district hires an architect to develop criteria or bridging documents. Those we recommend be as basic as possible. It can even be standard design criteria for all district projects. It's just a basic concept design, if you want to think about it in traditional concepts or terms. Then the district issues an RFQ and an RFP for design-build services, and the district may award on best value. So that, again, is a great thing. And then the district enters into a design-build contract with a single entity design builder who completes the design and constructs the project. That is the big difference from lease-leaseback and from design-bid-build and from most procurements. You're going to have a single entity responsible for the ultimate design and the construction. the key benefits of design build, and really to me, what I just said about that single entity is the most significant benefit. There's a doctrine in the law called the implied warranty of the correctness of the plans and specifications. And what that means is that, and this is well established in both federal and state law, the district or the owner impliedly warrants on a basic contract level that the plans and specifications are adequate for the project. And if there's an error or omission or something wrong with the plans and specifications, the contractor has a claim. And the contractor's claim is based simply on breach of contract. Now, the trick is that the design professional is held to a different standard to the owner. The design professional is held to a professional standard of care. And so this puts owners in what I call the owner's squeeze, because the owner could end up paying out to the construction contractor on a simple breach of contract basis for an error in the plans and specifications, but not get indemnified or be able to collect that back from the person or entity ultimately responsible for the design professional, because the mistake might not have fallen below the standard of care. And so owners can pay and not get back, and yet the owner really didn't do anything to do with the design. That's how the law works. That risk is substantially reduced in design build because of the design being done by the actual contractor. Now, you can mess that all up, though, if you keep too much control over the design. And if those criteria documents I mentioned a few minutes ago become too prescriptive, become too complete. So the more design control you retain, the less risk you shift, which is why the RFQ becomes really important as you're selecting somebody who is really, really capable and qualified to do it. Other benefits, cost control, the single entity concept again, the costs will come down, and the issue of change orders is substantially reduced. Pretty much the only change orders that you'll see in design build are owner requested changes. Differing site conditions can still be there because California law prohibits the transfer of the site risk to even a design builder. So that risk is there. But the main thing in change orders substantially reduced unless you elect to make a change. Schedule control, you can get started earlier. You can get approval of the plans and specifications and phases from DSA and get started right away. Same thing that works with construction speed and delivery speed. And there is a lot of data in the industry that backs up the great benefits from cost, schedule, and construction and delivery speed from design build. So the process, again, you select your architect for criteria documents, just the way you'd select your architect for any other project. You issue an RFQ, which describes the scope and the estimated price. You will attach the criteria documents to your RFQ. You'll set forth the evaluation factors, and you have to get a commitment from the proposers to use skilled laborers. And then the district reviews the statements of qualifications and pre-qualifies or otherwise shortlists the proposers. Importantly, and this is the question that I see a lot from school districts, the architect and its consultants who are involved in the criteria documents may not be part of the design builder's team. Typically, the design builder's team is the construction contractor, and it will pick an architect it's teaming up with, and that contract is a subcontract between the contractor and the architect. That's the typical way to do it. You can understand the conflict of interest if the people involved in the criterion document suddenly landed on one of the design builder teams proposing. So the legislature took care of that for us. Once the short list is established, you issue a formal request for proposals to that short list only. It continues the same theme as the RFQ, describe the scope and estimated price, the evaluation method, are you going to go low bid, which you can do, or best value, which we recommend because it has the most flexibility, and you can dig into the qualifications better with a best value approach. You explain what the evaluation factors are and how you're going to score them, and again, it has the same skilled labor and subcontractor protections. The successful proposer is selected. You enter into that single contract for design and construction, and then Generally, you have what we call a GMP amendment at the completion of the design, if you're going to use a best value approach as opposed to low bid. So you've worked up the design, you've worked up all the pricing, and then you get a GMP amendment and attach it. That does not have to come back to the board. Unlike, it can, but it doesn't have to, unlike on the lease-leaseback side. So a couple of, in summary, comparisons between the two. Design-build is the best risk shifting. No matter what kind of procurement you're using, it is absolutely the best risk shifting. You can start construction before 100% of the design, unlike with lease-leaseback, as long as you have DSA approval of the work phase you are about to start. There's no requirement for contractor financing. There's no requirement for post-construction occupancy during the contract term. There is a perception of less control over the design because you've transferred so much of that in order to transfer the risk, but you still have final approval of the design. And the fact that you've approved that design will not shift the risk back to you about the quality of the design. So you can still get what you want there, no concerns about that. And then there's no risk of invalidity due to a disguised construction contract. Having said all of that, lease-leaseback is still a great form of procurement. It is still a collaborative process. You can still use best value, so you don't have to go low bid. Unlike design-build, there's no restriction on the project size. So you can do it for anything under $1 million, over $1 million, no restriction on project side, but there's more risk retained because you don't have that same shifting. Do you have any other questions that I can answer for you this evening?
I think you gave us a lot of information.
I
Thank
did,
you.
and it's a little bit fast, but I'm very happy. If anybody thinks of other questions later, I can work through your staff and through your superintendent and get them back to you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen.
Committee reports, or excuse me, governing board reports.
I have nothing to report tonight.
Thank you.
I was on the interview panel for the vice principal role at the high school, along with several members of staff, and I want to thank them for their time. I did a site visit at the high school and toured the construction of the final phase with representatives of Turner Construction and Dr. Nicholas. It was informative and really exciting to see how things are shaping up. Being in construction, I love to see construction sites before they're all done, and I probably took a little more time than they'd like because I'm looking at various construction assemblages and stuff, but I really appreciated both Dr. Nicholas and Turner Construction's time in touring us for that. I also attended the Good Beginnings workshop with the rest of the board and Dr. Nicholas. I think it was a good refresher as the bulk of the information was covered in Masters in Governance programs. One of the things that the workshop did reinforce was that there is a direct line between what we as board members do and student achievement in the classroom. And therefore, it is critical that we as board members address issues, so I look forward to working with the board to achieve that. That's it.
Thank you. Trustee Lampel.
Okay. Like the other trustees, I was honored to participate in the Hanson School groundbreaking on June 26th. I also attended, the entire board attended the Good Beginnings workshop, and I think Trustee Clements kind of summed that up pretty well. I had the honor of riding in Mr. Pombo's vehicle for the Independence Day Parade. It was disappointing that our marching band did not participate. I was informed that Mr. Rexell canceled the participation because the students were not participating in the practice. And I honor his decision, and shame on those students for not following up on their commitment to go to the practice. It's too bad we weren't able to showcase the talent of our students and staff, because that talent is out there. I've heard them play. They're fabulous. I had a quick question about EdJoin. I don't know if this is the right time to ask it. EdJoin has a lot of postings for our athletic coaches. Have we not hired any of them yet? Because there's like pages and pages of athletic coach postings. And I meant to email this to you. I'm sorry, I didn't get to it.
That's okay. Good evening, everyone. Yes, so we are in the process currently of filling all those positions, but every year we re-up those because of the contracts with everyone. So it looks like there's a lot, but it's really more of just the process that we're going through to make sure that we're following our procedure.
Okay, so you don't automatically renew, you post every coaching position
Correct.
every year?
Correct.
Thank you, because I know there are people in the community who look at EdJoin, and it looks like we have no staff. So there's just a lot there, so thank you for that explanation.
Thank you.
And that's it. Thank you, President
Thank
Pombo.
you. I attended the Good Beginnings workshop along with the rest of the board. I also attended the Hanson groundbreaking. It was very exciting to throw some dirt up in the air and watch the dust blow it, or the wind blow the dust away. I also rode in my own vehicle in the 4th of July parade, which is always fun. I agree with Trustee Lampel that it was a disappointment that the high school band was not performing that day. My son was one of the kids who made most of the practices, and he too was disappointed that they were not marching in the parade. And that concludes my report. Receiving of public comment. The board shall give members of the public an opportunity to address the board either before or during the board's consideration of each agenda item. At a time so designated on the agenda, members of the public also may bring before the board matters that are not listed on the agenda of a regular meeting. The board may refer such a matter to the superintendent of or designee or take under advisement, but shall not take action at that time. The board may place the matter on an agenda of a subsequent meeting for discussion or action. Individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board on agenda items or non-agenda items. The board shall limit the total time public input on each item to 20 minutes. Seeing none, we will move on to item 9, consent items for consideration. Staff report?
We have none.
I don't want to pull anything out, but I have a couple of questions on the items, so I would move to approve the consent items for consideration.
And I'll second.
Further discussion?
Do you want to go first, Trustee Lampel?
Well, thank you.
Of course.
So a couple of questions. The contract for the speech-language pathologist is for an 8-hour workday, so with the lunch, that's 8.5 hours. What are they doing after the kids go home? In some cases, that's a 2-hour difference, and even more on Fridays. So I don't understand why this is a full-time person.
So they do have to prepare for IEP writing and writing evaluation reports, as well as scoring assessments.
2 hours a day? A day? Okay. All right. Don't sit down. So the sign language interpreters, they're working one-on-one with deaf and hard of hearing students?
That is correct.
So why the difference in the number of days? The contract said 143 days, and the students are in school 180 days.
I believe that must be a typo. It's 180 days.
I would think so, that's why I
Yes,
asked.
no, it's
Okay.
180 days.
So you may need to tweak something
Okay,
in that
thank you.
contract, because it should be 180.
Yes.
Excuse me, Trustee Lampel?
Yeah.
Are you referring to the action item or consent items?
Never mind, that's an action item. Thank you. I'm done.
Well, you'll be able to tell that my background versus Trustee Lampel's based on my questions. I saw the approval of contract under $25,000 relating to consulting for asbestos management, soil sampling, and lead analysis. And While I'm sure there's no issues, and that's the point of that, I just wanted district staff to speak to that a little bit. So if you could, that'd be great.
Yeah, so we do have one school that represents the 140 years that the district is old. It is not a 140-year-old campus, but it is our oldest campus. We began to do some, you have to check into older campuses for different reasons with regulations. And in doing so, it was kind of like an onion. We discovered that there had been some inconsistent practices in the past on paperwork related to environmental factors, not problems with it, but the paperwork. So we brought in a company to help us with that process. They gave us a report. In that report, they gave us a number of recommendations. One of them was to have an asbestos management plan, which was last updated in the mid-1980s. So I want to say to the board and the community, there are no identified asbestos issues at Lammersville. This is part of being a state bureaucracy and part of having the paperwork that says that it's a good environment. So there will be testing for asbestos, lead testing, and water samples taken as part of the recommendation from the company. Director LeGrand is going to be the lead on that, representing the district, but this is very common for older schools, and that's why we have it on there.
Appreciate the clarification. Thank you. My other question is, I'd just like to hear more about the Raptor Technologies volunteer/visitor tracking system.
And I'm happy to speak to that for you. Good evening again. So our current system that we use is through a vendor that is no longer going to be providing services, not just for us, but in general, and it's called Hero. And that's a system that we've used to process our volunteers for our campuses. And the process that we currently use is they come to the district office, we go through a background check, and the level of that check is dependent upon the type of volunteer service they ask for, whether it's a level A or a level B, meaning level A working in the classroom under a supervision of a district employee, level B on their own with students. The new system, the Raptor system, is going to be much more user-friendly for not only district staff, but also for our volunteer system. The other benefit to that is it will go a little bit more in-depth in the process in which we check our individuals. So the user-friendly piece is they'll still come to the district office and go through the process of filling out the appropriate documentation and going through the background checks. On the site end of things, it is much more, I'm going to say tight, but there's probably a better way to say that, but instead of having paper and pencil of signing in, there's actually going to be a system where they can use a state identification for their driver's license to scan, and what that will do is then it will print out their identification for the day with their identifying information, including a picture. So that's something there. In addition to that, at the site level, what it will do is it will track automatically who is signed in, when they have signed in, and when they leave. And so it'll be a living record of something that will be in a system that everyone has access to immediately. The other nice part of this new Raptor system is currently when our level A's are checked for a background check, if something were to occur that we would need to be or would want to be made aware of, our current system does not make us aware of that. Under the new system, even our level A volunteers, if something were to come up that we might want to look into, will be notified through the Department of Justice or local law enforcement, and they'll let us know what that is. So it improves our security with our volunteers.
That sounds really robust. Thank you.
It is, yeah.
I'm jealous. We do ours by hand.
Having a first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
If I could do my little piece.
Please.
So I would like to welcome some new staff to our Lammersville family. Jason Davis, program specialist, and kudos for finding a program specialist. Norman Hickson, drama teacher. Mina Parmar, science teacher. And Sarah Steele, self-contained classroom teacher. So welcome to those new employees.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Item 10, District Administrative Reports, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Nicholas?
A lot of people working here over the summer, getting ready for the school year. Energy and excitement is building, and our administrators from the sites will be coming in soon too. So we'll be ready to go.
Thank you. Item B, Williams Quarterly Report. Dr. Nicholas?
There were no reports.
Thank you. Item C, District Maintenance and Operations Report. Mr. LeGrand.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, summer cleaning's going well at all the sites. Sites are working on waxing floors, cleaning carpets, and some of the sites are already done with that process. So they're ahead of schedule. We'll be ready to go when school starts in August. The Prop 39 work is done at Bethany and Wickland, the interior lighting that we did, the extra money we found, Prop 39 money, so that's done. Expansion of the playground box at Lammersville is complete. We had a concrete divider, 2 separate boxes. We tore that out and expanded the box around and make a larger area for the kids. That part is done. We're waiting for the equipment to arrive so we could install it. Honestly, it's going to be a little tight, get it done by the time school starts, but we're keeping our fingers crossed on that one. The carpet replacement's almost done at Wickland. They're working on the last 2 rooms today. I didn't get a chance to go by this afternoon to see if they finished, but it should be done by tomorrow at the latest. Attended the construction meeting today at Mount House High School, and I attended the first construction meeting today at Hanson Elementary, so that was exciting. And then we're working on the garden expansion at Lammersville this week. They want to add some 6 additional boxes and drip line and move the fence a little bit, so we're working on that this week. And then last but not least, we have 2 pending grounds projects coming up. They want to expand the sidewalk at Wickland by the kindergarten playground. That's supposed to start this week. And then redoing the landscaping in front of Quessa, and that's supposed to be done for school starts in August as well. And I think that's all I have. Answer any questions?
No,
It's not.
It's not.
No, it's not.
On behalf of the board,
Is that right? Altamont somewhere? Yeah. When is this
is
going
there
to
an
go away?
update on Altamont?
You have a question about Hanson? No?
There's a lot of dirt out there.
So, I talked to Turner today, I talked to Wes today at the construction meeting. They're going to bead blast the floor. They're going to coaster seal the concrete and put the new flooring in before time school starts. So we got a couple weeks to get that done. I've used coaster sealing in the past. Last district was really close to the river. We coaster sealed every single floor. Works well, keeping any moisture that may find its way through the slab, keep it out of the flooring. So it's a great product, and I'm glad they're using it. So.
And there's no leak.
They have not been able to find a leak. So they brought in 5 or 6 different ways of finding a leak, and we have found 0.
So did they reroute? The discussion was they were trying to find the leak, they were having difficulty finding the leak, and said we're
They
going to
haven't been able to find
reroute
anything
the water.
leaking anywhere. So they pumped gas in the line, they brought in leak detectors with noise, and they have found nothing.
But
So-
the pressure, when they did the pressure test, the pressure went down.
I knew I was going to get in trouble on this one. So, yes, it did, and it appears to be a seeper. A fitting may be seeping, we can't find it. So, don't know where it's at. If it's inside the building, there would be maybe something on the walls, the ceiling, something visible. There's nothing there. The shutoff valve is about 5 feet outside the building. I don't know if it's in that little 5-foot section. That's where we're at. But then unable to find anything that's leaking.
Understood.
So
And did they reroute the water then or no?
they did not, because you don't know what you're rerouting around.
So didn't he tell us they were going to reroute regardless?
Yeah, my understanding of
'Cause
the
I'm
discussion.
glad you're asking the questions. You are the expert on this.
My understanding of the discussion was that we did the pressure test, and the pressure dropped, so we know that the leak is beyond where we hooked up the pressure because it's dropping beyond that, and that we would disconnect there and reroute, and they were saying they were going to go up the wall and maybe down or something. So if that's not happening,
That has not happened.
then personally, I would like our consultants to come and explain
Right.
Explain
So I
that.
wasn't at the
I'll put you in
construction
there.
meeting today, or I would have asked that same question. The last I had heard is what you're hearing, so I'll have to contact Mr. Owens and we'll find out what's going on.
Because it sounds like the decision has been made to cover it up rather than fix it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all I know is what he said, and so we'll have to figure that one out.
So,
I guess the bottom line is, I don't know even how to respond to that. So I'll be contacting Mr. Owens.
And I'm just saying, I'm not saying that I was right in my memory or anything like that. I'm just saying.
remembering the same thing.
I think they should come and speak to us and explain it.
So I'm not an expert in the field, and if they say, this should, to use your words, covering it up, what are we going to have in writing? Because I'm not convinced this isn't going to happen again. Because that guy stood here, sorry, I can't remember his name, and told us that they were going to reroute regardless because they couldn't find it. So they were going to go around the problem. But now they're not going around the problem, so what guarantees do we have that we're not going to have to fight with them again if something happens of whose fault is this, and everybody pointing in the other direction?
And that's what we want them to, a consultant to come explain.
I'll be contacting Mr. Owens tomorrow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
know it's not you.
So I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you, but I didn't want to lie to you until we found a leak that we didn't actually find, so.
Appreciate that.
So,
So it kind of guides us into what kind of questions we need to ask. And we know
Okay.
you don't have all the answers.
okay. Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
11, action items. Consider approval of 2017-2018 interdistrict transfer requests. Staff report?
There are none.
I'll move for approval of the 2017-18 interdistrict transfer requests.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with 2 absences. Consider approval of contract with Total Site Maintenance for weekly monitoring of erosion and pollution of the waterways for the Peter Hansen Elementary School construction project, not to exceed $40,000. Staff report?
This is a requirement, something we do at all of our sites, and so we recommend that you approve this.
So I have one quick question. Do they not have to, I think it was this one that said, was this the contract that said no prevailing wage? One of the contracts said no prevailing wage, and I was wondering if that was because it was not construction. I'm sorry, it's hard for me to go back and forth when I'm doing it on my iPad. I should have printed my.
I'm not sure.
One of the contracts said no prevailing wage, and I was like,
Pull out my.
What page is that, Alvina? 19. And I tried to dig around where I work to find out when we had to, because I know it's a big issue. Yeah, right there under the words optional services. Up here, Kirk.
I just got my glasses on, sorry.
Do we not have to have that there because it's not construction, it's just monitoring?
I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to get back to you.
It's a good catch.
Well, I'm HR, so those words jump out. And I wouldn't want us to see us have problems down the road. It may not be an issue because there might not be a prevailing wage for this type of work, but it's something that we should look into. Construction, there are set prevailing wages, but this type of work is unique, so that might not, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know if this comment meant, where it says non-prevailing wages, means that they don't exist, or just that these people, this company is not complying with that. Do you understand my question?
Yes. What I can tell you is, in order to do this work, you have to meet a certain criteria, and there was a bid process, and the only people that would be eligible to compete would be the people who meet the requirements. In terms of the specifics about non-prevailing wages, I can't answer that, though I do believe we
I can say
Still
that
need
my sense is that that this isn't construction work, that it is,
correct.
outside of that, but I am not a schools, right? So I'm hanging back and saying, I'm not going to.
So is this type of work something that there might not be an industry standard for prevailing wage? Because this is very unique.
I would say it would be the opposite, is that
work.
there's a standard that you have to meet to be able to do this work. And it isn't construction, it's making sure we're not polluting the waterways.
Right.
Yeah, it's more environmental than construction.
If you could just check into that, I don't want to see us get into trouble down the line. And make sure that that piece is okay. I am far from an expert on prevailing wage and contracts.
So I think we're still requesting a vote,
Yeah.
unless, okay. Yeah, I
And
can look into
I
that.
have a question as well, which is, I looked in that and in the justification, the cover page, it's an NTE a not to exceed contract. I couldn't see that in the actual document, but I may have missed it. Anyway, we're voting on a not to exceed of $40,000.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think because it all depends on how many times it rains and how many times they come out. So it's based on that.
Including the not to exceed?
Yes, so it's a
So
forward amount. This is exactly what we did for the current high school project. So we had a lot of rain days. So if we exceed that, we'll have to bring it back to the board for reapproval.
Oh.
So it's a service-based,
I apologize. I was thinking it was a contract where they said it's so much per visit, because like $375 a visit, and we think it's going to be, in December it's going to be 5 or 6 or 12 or whatever it was, and then less. I was thinking that they were saying it's a not to exceed, and we're saying the board is approving up to 40,000. Okay. No wonder I couldn't find it in the contract.
Okay, so did we have a motion yet?
We did not.
We did not. So I'll move for approval of the contract with Total Site Maintenance for weekly monitoring of erosion and pollution of the waterways for the Peter Hansen Elementary School construction project not to exceed $40,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with 2 absent. Item C, consider approval of contracts with non-public schools and agencies for student services, $43,735.80. North Valley School Lodi Victor Treatment for Behavioral and Mental Health Services, $99,652.40. Spectrum Center for Behavioral Services, $85,556. For Children's Home of Stockton for behavioral services for 3 students, $181,270 for Charis Youth Center for behavioral and mental health services residential placement, $99,489.80 for Central Valley Autism Project for behavioral services, $27,000 for Sierra Vista Child and Family Service for behavior services, and $53,732.60 for Therapeutic Pathways for behavioral support, one-on-one aid. Staff report?
just simply put, there's a large number of items here, but this allows us to keep the services going from year to year. Other than that, these are all services we cannot provide here in the district.
I have a quick question. Julie, if you could come up, this was what I was talking about before. So I know the contracts are all attached to the agenda, but they can be very confusing for the public.
Yes.
Who's not used to looking at these. So can we go through them and explain like how many students at some of the, like the resident, there's only one that has a number of students
Absolutely.
attached to it. So like the first one, the North Valley School, Lodi Victor Treatment Center, is that
That
That's
is
an
one
NPS that
student.
we send a student to.
Correct, that is the student is a senior, and that is one student attending that school.
And Spectrum is a significantly higher number, so is that more than one student?
Actually, that is, Spectrum Center is only one student, yes. Children's Home of Stockton,
That
we-
one says 3.
yes.
Yeah.
Charas, it's only one, and the amount is because it is a residential. Central Valley Autism, it's only one student. Sierra Vista is only one student, and Therapeutic Pathways is one student.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
I think that the public who maybe might not be here, but they do watch, and they need to understand, there's always a lot of questions about our budget.
Yes.
And these are services that these students have a right to receive, and they are expensive. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
No, it's the next one. Go ahead.
Move to approve contracts with non-public schools and agencies for student services.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with 2 absent. Consider approval of contracts with outside agencies, $238,784 for Alpha Vista Services, Inc. for 2 speech and language pathologists, $86,018 for staff rehab for 2 licensed vocational nurses, and $138,198 ProCare therapy for 2 sign language interpreters. Staff report?
This is a continuation of the previous one. This is just the staff side of it.
So as Noel pointed out, my questions earlier were on these, not on, so we already talked about the speech and language pathologist and the sign language interpreters. Those are working one-on-one with deaf and hard of hearing students. You're going to check the 143 days.
I'm sorry to interrupt. You are correct. The agreement does state 143 days, but that's Monday through Thursday. And then there are 37 days that is counting the Fridays because it's early out, so it's less hours. So we separate it. So between the two, it adds up to 180 days.
Got it. I didn't see that second part of the Fridays. Okay, and I think that was all of my questions on that, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Move to approve contracts with outside agencies.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with 2 absent. Consider approval of new certificated job description, agriculture and natural resources teacher. Staff report?
I'm going to have Mr. Faubert come up to speak to the details, but essentially this is a opportunity for an existing staff member who can be CTE credentialed to provide a CTE class to our students.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. This is our lean into ag. We have a teacher who lives on a ranch and works the ranch with her husband, has a work experience enough to qualify for a CTE credential. The first class that we'll be offering this year is a companion animal science class. It's very popular all of a sudden. There's 3 full sections that we filled like that. She brought the animals to the curriculum.
Okay.
Yeah, she brought a chicken and a bunny and a little Pomeranian dog, and so each class is going to make a decision at the beginning of the year of what kind of animal their class is going to take care of for the year, and they're going to talk about care of the animals, feeding, raising, husbandry, all that kinds of stuff. And so it's our first ag science class, and we've already talked about how we're building out that pathway and where we might go with that, with maybe larger animals and maybe taking over a little bit of spot on Lammersville Elementary School site to kind of do some stuff like that. And I hear we have some ranchers in the area that we can put on our committee.
I just wanted to thank you once again, Principal Faubert, for giving my daughter another reason to be upset with me for things that weren't at Mountain House High School when she was there.
Yeah, so it's exciting. There's a lot of kids that are excited, especially our kids who live in the rural areas of our schools. They've been asking me year after year, when are we doing ag? When are we doing ag? When are we starting it? And so this will be our first foray into that, and that's why we need a job description so that we can get it going.
So my question, which you already answered, was going to be, is there a student interest? But with 3 sections,
Absolutely.
definitely. So where are we housing these animals?
So they won't purchase the animals until, I'm trying to think of which building has to be done first. The CTE building has to be done because currently the art teacher is residing in the science lab in the A building that will turn into the animal science lab. They're choosing smaller animals that can
they
be
can be
kept in
housed
cages
indoors?
inside, yeah.
Okay.
So we're talking, chinchillas, rats, hamsters,
Oh, okay.
guinea pigs, smaller.
Cottontails?
Huh?
Cottontail rabbits?
Sure.
There's plenty
little
out
bunny
here.
rabbits.
But we'll go round up a few
A
for
cute
you.
little wabbit. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what they'll be doing this year.
So no larger animals to take to the fair and
Not
sell?
yet, but we've talked about 4-H, we've talked
Mm-hmm.
about FFA, and so there's a lot of potential for that to be moving forward as we go forward.
Yeah, call me.
I just wanted to say that I'm
Just started that.
I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, I have to
I
agree
think this
too.
is
I'm really
awesome.
excited to see how that pans out. Yeah,
Yeah, good.
sounds cool.
Did you sign up for an ag class, Simran?
I did actually. Yeah, yeah. It's one of my backups for one of my classes. I'm excited.
Great.
To see, yeah.
Well, then we have to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it kind of crosses over into biomedical science too. There's a couple of kids in the biomed program who are interested in veterinary science, and so they're coupling this course in the ag pathway with their biomedical science, and they hope their senior year to go into an internship at one of the vets in town.
Fabulous. That's exciting stuff.
I think viticulture might be next.
Yeah. So, do you want to say something? Okay, so I will move for approval of the new certificated job description of agriculture and natural resources teacher.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with 2 absent. Consider, item F, consider approval of updated board policy 516.1, interdistrict open enrollment. Staff report?
Yeah, we're cleaning up something here with something we missed. We approved a policy, a BP, a board policy, and did not identify dates. In our working with CSBA, they pointed that out to us, so we've added the dates January through May.
Move to approve updated board policy 5116.1, intra-district open enrollment.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with 2 absent. Item G, consider approval of contract with Appleby and Company, Inc. for the 2017-2018 school year, $45,831. Staff report?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I'll have Mr. Miller speak to the details, but I challenged Mr. Miller at the beginning of last year to turn our HR department into a 21st century progressive HR operation. He searched for the first half of the year for paper napkins. What is that? What is those 3-layered paper things called? Where you duplicate paper.
Oh,
yeah, triplicate
NCRs?
form, CR paper. We had multiple pink sheets everywhere. So this is our foray. We're asking our kids to do it. So Mr. Miller has volunteered to take our adults through it too.
Yes, and I'm very excited to be taking on the challenge. It is a wonderful opportunity to be exploring this through the HR department and with the expectation long-term that it expands into other departments as well. So the Appleby Company is really going to put us on a progressive line to streamline our processes in the HR department, specifically to the onboarding of new hires, the communication of information out to staff, both current and new, and then in addition to just being able to get our processes more consistent and working, that will help streamline what we're doing and afford us more time to focus in other areas. This particular company focuses in the educational realm. They work with many school districts. They're out of the Fresno area, so they work with Fresno Unified, Clovis, Madera, and some others. So they've been around for quite some time. We've had some very nice conversations with them over the last year, as Dr. Nicholas pointed out, and we feel very confident that they will be able to afford us an opportunity to get up and running and bring some real positive effects to what we're doing in the HR department, and as I said, eventually in our other areas as well.
Killing me. I'm so jealous.
We're very excited by it. It's going to be a great thing for us, so we're excited to be
Great.
doing it.
I have one quick question, and that is, I don't understand all of the intricate details of the Laserfiche and stuff. My concern is that a proprietary system? So let's say, for some strange reason, 5 years from now, we decide to change systems. Do they own the data?
No, we keep ownership of everything.
Beautiful.
We don't give up any ownership. In addition to that, in the transfers, in this process of transferring, they're very secure in what they do. We wanted to make sure that in transferring or handing over our files of confidential information and other information, that we weren't simply just handing it to somebody walking in the door and they were walking out with it. And we've been assured in writing, and I have the documentation to back it, of what their process is, for instance. So they assign one individual, or individuals, I should say, probably more than one in our case because of the amount of volume that we have. But they have to go through a formal background check to even be part of the process. It's all confidential. Where the information is kept, it's kept in a very secure location. That location is monitored through technology. In fact, to get into the building, there's a passcode system and a thumbprint monitoring to even get into the building. Everything that they do is barcoded. Everything that we send to them and is sent back is sealed, so there's no chance of it being lost or gone through. So they're very meticulous in how they process our documentation, but we do not lose ownership of that, and we do have the option at any time, based on our contract, should we decide to go a different direction, we retain ownership of everything.
So if the servers are in their secure location, which is great to hear, 5 years from now, we decide to change companies because there are so many companies doing this, whatever, I'm just making that up. How do we get that back if the servers are on their location?
So there's a process that we would go through for them to release our information back to us, but we have full access to our information. The nice thing about the Laserfiche product is it's similar to, what could I use as an example? Like a Google Doc, in the sense of you could use it on multiple platforms. You don't just have to use it on a PC. You could use it on a Mac and different things like that. This would be the same idea, that if we were to transfer and use a different company, it's essentially the same platform that individuals or companies use. And so the transfer of the information is quite simple, but the ownership will always remain in our hands, even though they will corral it for us, if you will. Thank you, Ben, for the animal science.
So
I'll use the
through
corral piece.
cyberspace and everything, you can access that information at any
Absolutely.
time you need to look up,
That is correct.
what did this person show us as transcripts the day they were hired 15 years ago?
Exactly.
So,
And
okay,
the-
great.
and the nice thing about it is, on our end, the permissions piece is we can control the permissions, who sees what, who has access to certain documentation. So it's not just that we have it and people have access to it, but we then control what that access is as well. So it's very secure, and it's very user-friendly, and we believe it's going to speed up our processes and what we're doing.
Fabulous.
So I believe that you answered my question, the question that I was going to ask. And you spoke to transfer, which is electronic. And you may have said the word transport. But as I understand it from reading the contract, we have a whole bunch of paper HR files, and they are actually going to take those files
Correct.
to their site, and they're going to they're going to scan them, essentially.
Yes.
And then they're going, and so my question is, want to make sure that their transport, I know their transfer, high-tech companies are really good at transfer, want to make sure their transport is secure, but what are they going to do with the information when they're done? Does it come back to us, or do
Comes
they
back
destroy
to us.
it?
So everything comes back to us.
Okay.
Yeah, and the transport, you're correct. So thank you for the clarification. Initially, we do have to physically take our files and have those scanned into the system.
Right.
And so we are going through the process of identifying files, making sure those are in the correct order, boxing those files, and they're going to be transported. And what I was mentioning earlier is they dedicate individuals specific to us. They don't work on anything else. They are allotted, if we have 50 boxes, they get 5 different people, and everybody has 10 boxes, and those are barcoded to those individuals, and they are responsible for that.
Okay.
Those individuals go through the background check, and they go through all of this process, so they essentially are guaranteeing us that our documents are secure and safe, and that what we give them, we will get back. But then essentially we'll have it in 2 forms now. We'll have it in a hard copy, and we'll have it, paperless and in the cloud.
And then after X amount of time, you'll shred the paper files?
Yeah, we'll go through that process as well, what we're going to do with those, and, we'll certainly keep track of, our timeframes of how long we have to keep certain things, but yes, we will eventually make sure that we dispose of those properly.
Move to approve contract with Appleby and Company, Inc. for the 2017-2018 school year, $45,831.
Wow, I'll second.
Was there?
I just wanted to celebrate a moment. The first term made up this year out of some new term was not made by me, but was made by Trustee Clements. Who,
Electrify?
Electrify documents. So,
I corrected
it was not
myself.
me.
That will live in infamy.
I will.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with 2 absent. Now I just have to find where I was. H. Item H, consider approval of additional Measure L expenditures at Lammersville Elementary School not to exceed $125,000. Staff report?
Yes, so a couple of meetings ago, we came forward with a recommendation to build a makerspace to support the LILA program at Lammersville Elementary. The intent of that was to get to the bidding process and get someone in to do the work. This is the second half, which is the carpet and other materials. Heather Sherburne, Director Sherburne, is having a wonderful learning experience about the nature and nuances of construction projects. So she's learning a lot, and she's very proud to be part of this project. But this is the money that will finish the project up. And we are working very hard to make sure that gets done before the start of the school year. We've been thrown a curveball by a contractor quitting on us. So I want to compliment Mr. Harrison and Director Sherburne for running around trying to clean up that individual's mess. Oh, I'm sorry. Assistant Superintendent Heather Sherburne, who will not let me forget that for weeks to come.
I'll move for approval of the additional Measure L expenditures at Lammersville Elementary School not to exceed $125,000.
Before I second, I will say I was the focus of attention for all of about 2 minutes. Second.
I would just like to say how excited I am to see this coming to fruition at Lammersville Elementary. It's exciting to see something like this go from an idea through the planning process, and now it's going to become a reality soon. Further questions or comments by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with 2 absent.
I just need to say one thing. It's hard to teach a dog new tricks, and he's been calling you director for 2 years. So
Electrify documents and old dog. There we go.
I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll call it a draw.
Let's get back on track, people. Consider approval to adjourn from regular session to open public hearing on 2017-2018 collective bargaining proposals. Staff report?
This is the beginning of this year's negotiation process. This is the first formal step.
So I will move to adjourn from regular session to open public hearing on the 17-18 collective bargaining proposals of Lammersville Teachers Association, initial proposal to the district, Lammersville Unified School District's proposal to LTA, California School Employees Association, Chapter 873, proposal to the district, and the district's proposal to CSEA.
That was a pregnant pause because he banged the gavel. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now in open public hearing. This is the chance for the public to comment on the process here. I see no comments, so consider approval to close public hearing to return to regular session.
I'll move to close the public hearing and return to regular session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now returned to regular session.
I would like to make, okay, when we open the next one, I have a comment.
Item K, consider approval to sunshine initial collective bargaining proposals for the 2017-2018 school year. Staff report?
None.
I'll move for approval to sunshine the initial collective bargaining proposals for the 2017-18 school year. LTA proposal to the district's proposal to LTA, CSEA proposal to the district, and the district's proposal to CSEA.
Second.
Discussion?
Yeah, I have one comment, and I would like to applaud CSEA for the way they laid out their sunshine proposal. They have the article and exactly what it is that they want to discuss. This is what it's supposed to look like. So I wanted to thank CSEA.
I believe I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with 2 absent. Item L, consider approval of Mountain House High School cheer team overnight field trip to cheer camp. Staff report?
We strongly recommend approval of this overnight field trip for our cheer team.
Move to approve Mountain House High School cheer team overnight field trip to cheer camp.
I'll second.
Questions or comments by the board?
Quick question. So, and I ask this all the time on field trips, the way it's brought to us, what funding source will be used if there are parents who can't or won't pay the difference in the cost after the boosters donation and the fundraiser monies?
The high school process is always the same. So anybody who's short on money, that we are able to fund those kids so they don't miss out on the activity.
Okay. Yeah. I think maybe the reason why I keep asking is because I've seen this not done properly so many times over the years, not here. Maybe that wording needs to be in the proposals, that any shortfalls will be covered by whatever it is, because the parents can simply refuse to pay. We know that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries with 2 absences. Item 12, information and discussion items. Committed fund balance. Staff report?
At the special board meeting, I think it was the 21st of June, a short discussion was brought forward about the mandated 3% versus a higher percentage to cover the committed fund balance. In translation, that would mean that how much money do we want set aside in case there's a problem? Financially, that's not your typical problem. So Alvina's put together a lovely presentation.
It's a big one slide. Good evening. Hello. So in 2015, there was an Ed Code section that came out that required districts to provide a statement for public view, public comment. We did that during our public hearing. And in that statement, we're required to show the minimum recommended reserve for economic uncertainty, and for a district our size, it's 3%. Along with that minimum reserve, we're required to show any assigned, committed, and unassigned balances that are part of our components of ending fund balance. So in the June 19th meeting, we discussed the possibility of changing the 3% and creating a committed fund balance. The district currently does not have any committed balances. It requires a formal action to be taken by the board by majority vote. Any changes to commit a fund balance can only be reversed with the same majority vote type action. And then as I did some research, there's other districts that have varied to apply another 1.5 to 6% above that minimum recommended reserve. So as I was taking a look at it, we have $1.2 million for 3%. A monthly payroll is almost $2.4 million. So I was maybe suggesting, this is something that is going to be formally adopted, that we would do it in a phased approach and perhaps only do 1.5%, review it in July 2018, see where we stand, and potentially increase it maybe by another 1.5%. That was my single slide. Any questions?
That makes perfect sense to me. Yeah. And we want to make sure that, in the case of a financial crisis, the state isn't giving us money. Our employees work hard, and they need to get paid. So just to at least have enough for a month, I think would make the employees feel comfortable. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So we would need direction from the board, if you'd like us to do some more math on this and bring an action item forward, what next steps would you like us to take?
I have a question. Is there any anticipated severe negative effect of moving in this direction? Like, will it so negatively affect the budget that we have to think of eliminating a program? I mean, is this doable?
Everything's doable, but you can't do everything.
Right.
So we would have to take a look at the numbers and see the impact of a $600,000 hit. It would come out of one-time monies for the most part. So then if there's a couple of major initiatives going forward, one may have to be slowed down. We haven't done that analysis other than Alvina. I kind of thought, okay, 3 to 6%, that makes a lot of sense. And then she said 1.2 million and my eyebrow went up. So we'd have to do some analysis.
Yeah.
So we're currently in the process of closing the books now. As I mentioned, any majority vote taken can always have a majority vote taken to change that percentage again.
Right. I just wouldn't want us to take this action, even, I think I'm the one that brought this up, that we need to, be able to have enough money to pay our staff. You never know what can happen at the state level. But I also don't want us to blindly take an action because we're taking care of our staff that might have a negative effect on something else that's going really well. So maybe more analysis?
I would like to see the staff analyze it, come back with, the pros and cons and a recommendation.
And I think the best time is when I finish closing the books, probably September-ish.
Yeah, because I know it's a good idea, but I'm worried about the potential negative effects.
Yes, and what I was finding that the larger districts had a smaller percentage, that extra, while the small school districts had a higher percentage there, because it, percent
Makes
on.
sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Larger percentage of a smaller number is easier to achieve.
Their numbers still higher.
Exactly.
So you have the direction you need, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Item B, board committees.
So we've been discussing the board committees, and I started looking into it. And I talked with, I got feedback from the board, but I also talked with staff. So the committees are a great idea, and we started some committees two or 3 years ago, and we wanted to review which ones had momentum and which ones were kind of floundering and which ones maybe need to be tweaked. So with the permission of the board president, I came up with a readjustment concept with two ideas in mind, that every board member would serve at a minimum the same amount. At one point, I did the math, and I think one board member was committed to 13 events. And so if you take all of the committees and gave everybody 2 opportunities, it would be 4 times per committee. So some committees will no longer exist and will be folded into others. So education and extracurricular academic committee, the district staff lead would be Assistant Superintendent Sherburne. The DLAC committee would be assisted by Principal and Administrator of Student Services Busatil. Safety Committee and Wellness Committee by Associate Superintendent Mr. Harrison. The Policy Committee would be Director Miller, District Advisory Committee myself, and a Facilities Committee Associate Superintendent Harrison. So that balances it out, and the idea would be each one is committing to 4 meetings per year. Obviously, they could do more if it's needed. Next slide, please. And then this is just a recommendation. It's ultimately the board's purview to how they want to do it, but the recommendation, taking what people were doing this year and trying to balance it, is Education and Extracurricular Committee, Trustee Lampel and Trustee Goodrich, DLAC, Trustee Lampel, Safety, Trustee Balzerini, Wellness, Trustee Pombo, Policy Committee, Trustee Balzerini and Goodrich, District Advisory Committee, Trustee Clements, and Facilities Committee, Trustee Clements and Pombo. So it's the board president's discretion for moving the chess pieces, but this is a starting recommendation or an idea.
Questions or comments by the board?
I think this looks great. I think you've really tapped into, on your recommendations, the board's expertise areas.
Kind of sad to be leaving DLAC.
We'll miss you.
If you want to do more.
It's still a public
No, three
meeting,
is
Trustee Clements.
actually difficult. I'm sorry?
It's still a public meeting. You can come.
Or it's, my position, if any board members want to be on more than 2 committees, that's at their discretion. I would like to be on all the committees until I realize the time commitment that's involved in that.
That was was what I was going to say, is that
Yeah.
3 committees has been a challenge.
Yeah, it was.
I've tried to live up to it, but, so it's probably wisdom is the better part of valor.
Yeah.
And so I'm happy with that, but I do thoroughly, I learn a lot on DLAC, and I think they've done great things, so
It's in very good hands right now.
I'm good with that.
We can bring this back as an action item at a.
I believe that in this particular area, you have the discretion to appoint, and if you say it shall be, it shall be.
All right, I would like.
You can do that next meeting, obviously.
I would like to table it until next meeting, simply because 2 of our board members are not here, and I would like to get input from them before I thrust them onto a committee.
Okay.
Or off of a committee, as it were.
And is there any committee there that our student board member, Guncy, might be interested in maybe coming to once in a while, or?
Yeah, sure. I
you
would
know?
love to come to maybe like the Education Extracurricular Committee.
That's a great idea.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. Is the board open to that?
That's.
Yeah.
No, yes, of course.
And you said all of these committees meet 4 times a year?
Yes,
Well, a minimum of 4 times a year.
minimum, yeah.
Minimum, okay.
Calendar, next Thursday, July 27th, is the Facilities Committee meeting right here at 6:30. And Wednesday, August 2nd, is the next regular board meeting of the governing board. In just a minute, we will be adjourning to closed session, where we will be discussing public employee discipline dismissal, release, complaint, public employee appointment, employment, evaluation, superintendent, conference with labor negotiators, conference with legal counsel, conference with real property negotiators.
Move to adjourn to closed session.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are now in closed session. Thank you all for coming,